Gospel of Luke. The name of that parable is the Good Samaritan. I think I was not hesitating to ask that question because I think the Good Samaritan might be the single most well-known parable that Jesus ever told, for lots of reasons. This week, for fun, I Googled Good Samaritan Hospital, because I was thinking, I'll bet there's a lot of them. In fact, you don't put a place in there, like illness. Just say Good Samaritan Hospital. So anywhere. Yes, there are many around the world, hospitals by the name Good Samaritan. They're all over the place. It's a very well-known parable. We have laws that are named after the Good Samaritan. I did not check Lithuania, but the United States, I believe England, I believe many countries have what they call Good Samaritan laws. That means if you take the time to try to help someone and you don't do it perfectly and something goes wrong, you can't be sued because you were being a Good Samaritan. That's a Good Samaritan law. It's a very well-known parable, and it has even impacted our language and the names of our hospitals and the names of our care centers and the names even in some cases of our laws. But I would have liked to have been present the day that the lawyer came and spoke to Jesus and asked this question. I think it's a question a lot of us wrestle with. What must I do to be saved? Lots of people aren't asking that particular question these days, but they're asking the similar ones. What must I do to be healed? What must I do to be whole? What must I do to be well? What must I do? Really, the emphasis in the question is, what must I do for me? What must I do for me? That's the lawyer's question. And Jesus, this is why I would have liked to be present, because I think it's possible Jesus laughed. Maybe he was stern, but I would have liked to know. Did he laugh? Because it's a funny question from Jesus' point of view. Or maybe he was stern, but he simply asks him, well, what does the law say? Well, the law says to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul. And to love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus says, well, there you go. Why are you asking me? You already know. Do that, and you will live. I have no argument, no conflict, Jesus was saying, with the law. But see, that wasn't really the question. The question wasn't about the law. The question that the lawyer had in mind was, what about me? What about me? So he says, okay, and it's kind of a thing a lawyer would do. Sorry for any of the lawyers. Who exactly is my neighbor? That's what I want to know. Because this whole conversation, Jesus, in case you haven't noticed, is about me. It's about me. I'm trying to secure a place for me. I'm trying to make sure everything goes well for me. And to get to the answer to that question, I have to know who is my neighbor so that I know what I need to do, what T I need to cross, what I need to dot, what line I need to draw in the sand. I just need to know who is my neighbor so that I know how to take care of me. So Jesus tells a story, the famous one that everyone knows. The story, the parable of the Good Samaritan. And Jesus says, you know the story. There's a man who's attacked by robbers, falls into a ditch, lays there in the ditch, he's half dead, and along walks a priest. By the way, if this story makes lawyers look bad, it makes priests look worse. Along walks a priest who turns to the other side and ignores him. Along walks a Levite, who are also from the family of priests, goes to the other side of the road, ignores him. And then comes a Samaritan. You know who the Samaritans were in Jesus' world? These were the unclean cousins of the Jews. So not someone you would make the hero of a story. It's not a mistake that Jesus picks a Samaritan. He's making a point. It's not someone you would make the hero of the story. The hero of the story should have been the priest or the Levite. But along comes a Samaritan in the story that Jesus is saying, and the Samaritan sees the man and sees his condition, and he has compassion. His heart goes out to the man. So he picks him up out of the ditch, takes him to an inn, takes care of his wounds, gets him into a comfortable bed, pays the innkeeper, and then goes on his way and says to the innkeeper, there's going to be more expenses, I know that, but I'll be back and I'll take care of it. So who is the neighbor? Now, the lawyer has approached Jesus with a question. What must I do for me? And Jesus answers with a story. And this is why I think he might have been laughing. Jesus answers with a story that says, it's not about you. It's actually not about you. He might as well have said, let me quote a great teacher. Oh, it might be me. You will find your life when you lose it. You will gain your life when you give it away. The point of the story is that there's a man in the ditch who has been robbed and is suffering and has left practically to die. And the Samaritan didn't walk down the road saying, what must I do to earn my salvation? The Samaritan walked down the road and said, there's a man who's in a terrible condition. How can I help him? I can pick him up. I can clean him up. I can bind his wounds. I can give him a place to stay the night. How can I help him? Jesus takes in this story of the Good Samaritan and turns on its head the question that the lawyer came to ask, which was about him. And Jesus is as much as saying, you won't understand my answer. You will not understand my answer until you understand that it's not about you. It's about the one who needs you. There's a statue, and I have resisted for months. I want to go on record. I have resisted for months, quoting Martin Luther. There's a statue over here of Martin Luther, who once said, God does not need your good works. Your neighbor does. God doesn't need them. Your neighbor does. And until you understand that, you're missing the gospel. Until you understand that, you think it's about right and wrong. You think it's about checking off things to do to get inside God's good graces. You think that it's about something that you can do that benefits you, and you've missed it. Because when your attention turns away from you, and you see around you the suffering and those who need your help, now you're home. Now you have found home. Jesus does the same thing with the parable of the Good Samaritan. Go and do likewise, he says to the lawyer. And the lawyer leaves, I don't know, slumped over, discouraged, certainly confused. Confused because I think he left not knowing that Jesus did answer his question. But in many ways it was the wrong question. What do I need? It's the wrong question. It's the wrong question if you are already loved. It's the wrong question if you already have resources. It's the wrong question if your life is already abundant. It's the wrong question. The right question is, what does this one need? does this one need to find safety? What does this one need to find security? What does this one need to find love? What does this one need to find salvation? And then you find yours. Right in that moment, you find yours.